Mise en scène Part 1. Review this lecture after reading Chapter 2. Review the film grammar sheet in the module on D2L, and watch the videos in the supplemental playlist to enhance the lecture. Mise en scène defined as the arrangement of the materials and subjects in front of the camera, meaning placing on the stage or putting into the scene in French. We're going to be building on visual subtext that we talked about last week. Mise en scène is controlled by the director. It shapes the elements of style, it serves to shape the narrative, and shows what the audience needs to see or hear to understand the scene. Mise en scène elements include set design, costumes, blocking of the actor's performance, lighting, and composition. Mise en scène is often called the opposite of editing. It reflects real time. It's what the director puts into the scene. Editing can weaken the power of mise en scène. Each shot choice a director makes results in mise en scène that creates a unique effect. The frame, the building block of mise en scène. Directors compose the image to fit the frame. The composition is restricted by the aspect ratio of the film. Aspect ratio, the width and height of the image. Last lecture we learned about different formats of film. Each film format comes with a distinct aspect ratio. Aspect ratio examples. We have examples of standard and widescreen formats here. Depth of field. Let's begin by breaking up the frame in depth. The frame is divided into 3 planes: the foreground, middle ground, and background. Depth of field definition. The distance from the near to the farthest that objects are in focus. The next slides contain 2 identical images with different depths of field. Let's spend some time comparing and contrasting the images. A simple shift in depth of field from deep to shallow can change the information that's communicated to the viewer. How does the visual information change from the deep to shallow depth of field? Adjusting the depth of field changes the information that's communicated. Think about where your eye is resting and think about what's clear, sharp, and in focus from the deep depth of field to the shallow depth of field. This image contains objects and subjects that are in focus in all 3 planes: the foreground, midground, and background. Shallow depth of field. This composition only has 1 plane with objects in focus, the foreground. The eye rests on the important object in the foreground. The foreground, where important subjects or objects are often placed. The middle ground, where actors are often placed. The background. The background establishes the location. Background communicates information about a character. Sometimes the background is a character. In this case, the background is much larger than the human subject. By placing the character in the final third of the frame, our eyes rest on her last. Exploiting the frame. Areas of the frame can be exploited for symbolic meaning. Let's look at how the placement of subjects and objects in the frame can change the visual subtext. Center of the frame, reserved for important visual elements. Central framing, placing subjects or objects in the center of the frame, is a comfortable place. Exploiting the top of the frame can be used to create a sense of power, authority, and control. Exploiting the bottom of the frame creates a sense of vulnerability and powerlessness. The edges of the frame can create a sense of tension, and the darkness can suggest fearfulness or the unknown. Composition and design. The eye can detect 7 or 8 major elements of composition simultaneously. The mise en scène guides the eye through the composition. The dominant is the area that immediately attracts attention. After taking in the dominant, the eye moves to the subsidiary contrast. Typically, there is a first and a second subsidiary. Let's determine who or what is the dominant in the composition I'm about to show you. Consider where your eye goes first and why. Look at the depth of field. Who or what is in focus in the foreground, midground, and background? Are the top, bottom, center, or edges of the frame being exploited? And does the lighting draw the eye to an area of the frame? What is the dominant in this composition? The man is the dominant because he's in the foreground, he's in focus, he's in the center of the frame, he's occupying the top of the frame, and he's lit in a way that attracts the eye. We'll return to our criteria to determine who or what is the subsidiary. Consider where your eye goes after taking in the dominant. And we have the same criteria that we're going to use that we've used before. What are the subsidiary contrasts? Where does the eye go after taking in the dominant? The woman is the first subsidiary because she's in the middle ground, she's in focus, she's in the first third of the frame, and she's lit in a way that attracts the eye. After taking in the dominant in the first subsidiary, the eye moves to the second subsidiary in the background. The area is out of focus, not well lit, and communicates a minimal amount of information. Design lines. An important part of mise en scène is the organization of the two-dimensional space. Objects and subjects are arranged to create lines that draw the eye to certain areas of the frame. Vertical design lines. The vertical lines created by the hallway pulls the eye up and into the frame. Horizontal design lines. The horizontal line created by the man's head and the objects in the aquarium creates the effect that the subject is submerged underwater. Diagonal lines. A diagonal line is created by the woman in the foreground and the man in the middle ground. It pulls the eye into the frame. Balance or instability is established through the number of subjects and objects in the composition. Even numbers can appear stable and balanced. Notice the symmetry created by having one side of the composition mirror the other. Odd numbers can create instability or appear off balance. The placement of the woman in the foreground and the two subjects in the background creates a triangle. The eye moves through the odd numbers of subjects. Our film choice for Mise en Scène 1 is The Graduate, directed by Mike Nichols in 1967, starring Anne Bancroft as Mrs. Robinson and Dustin Hoffman as Benjamin Braddock. The response question for The Graduate is, choose one scene in The Graduate and analyze how the mise en scène communicates an idea. There's a presentation to assist with this response in the module on D2L. Please review it before uploading. Films featured in this lecture. Students are encouraged to explore these films, and you can explore them in the PDF version of this lecture on D2L. Until next time, have a productive week.